Think about the people who praise you the most for your loyalty. Think about the company that gives you a cheap plastic plaque for 5 years of service while paying you a fraction of the revenue you generate for them. Think about the friend who calls you brother, but only ever reaches out when his life is falling apart and he needs to drain your energy. Think about the toxic partner who constantly tests your boundaries, but tells you that real love means never walking away. You wear your loyalty like a badge of absolute honor. You think it makes you a righteous man. You think being a company man or a ride-or-die friend is the absolute peak of moral character. You have been told your entire life that loyalty is a virtue and that abandoning the people you started with is the ultimate sin. Let me ask you a terrifying question. Who is actually cashing the check for your loyalty? Who is getting rich off your honor? Who is sleeping peacefully inside the warm castle while you stand freezing at the gate, proudly guarding a kingdom that you do not even own? You are not acting out of honor. You are a victim of the most effective psychological manipulation in human history. This is core wisdom. If you are tired of being the loyal guard dog for someone else's empire, if you are ready to break the chain and walk the path of the sovereign, you are in the right place. Subscribe. We build the fortress together. Let us perform a brutal deconstruction of this word, loyalty. Let us drag it out of the realm of romanticized fairy tales and look at how it actually operates in the unforgiving machinery of power dynamics. Society loves this word. Corporations spend millions of dollars indoctrinating you with this word. Manipulators use this word as a weapon against your throat. Why? Because blind loyalty is the cheapest, most efficient control mechanism ever invented. When a master wants to control a slave, he uses a whip. But the whip is expensive. The whip requires energy. The whip creates violent resentment, and eventually, the slave will wait until the master is asleep and burn the house to the ground. But if the master can convince the slave that staying chained to the wall is a sign of deep personal honor, if the master can convince the slave that running away makes him a traitor to his own morality, the master can throw the whip away forever. The slave will lock his own cage. The slave will guard his own chains. This is exactly what has been done to your mind. You stay at a job that disrespects your time, ignores your boundaries, and violently underpays you. You endure a relationship that drains your life force and constantly disrespects your standards. You hold on to childhood friends who have completely lost their ambition and are actively dragging you down into the mud with them. And when you look in the mirror, when the pain of your stagnant life becomes almost unbearable, how do you justify this absolute misery to yourself? You do not say, "I am too weak to leave." You do not say, "I am terrified of being alone." You say, "I am loyal." You have taken your cowardice and you have wrapped it in a beautiful, shining cape of morality. We need to go down into your shadow self. We need to rip away this moral shield and look at the trembling, terrified creature hiding underneath. We must look at the psychology of the dog. You are not staying out of a deep, noble sense of duty. You are staying out of an agonizing fear of the unknown. The free market is terrifying. Leaving the familiar, even if the familiar is literal poison, requires you to step out into the freezing cold. It requires you to negotiate your worth from scratch. It requires you to look a stranger in the eye and prove your value without relying on the safety net of your past history. It requires you to risk absolute rejection, isolation, and failure. Your fragile ego cannot handle that level of friction. The anxiety of the unknown paralyzes you. So, your mind creates a brilliant, socially acceptable excuse to stay exactly where you are. It tells you that leaving would make you a bad person. It tells you that seeking a better life, prioritizing your own survival, and demanding what you are worth is selfish. Look at the dog. A dog will stay with a master who beats it. A dog will violently defend a house where it is only fed table scraps and forced to sleep in the dirt. We look at the dog and we call it man's best friend. We romanticize its pathetic, unquestioning subservience. You are acting exactly like the dog. You are trading your sovereign power, your irreplaceable time, and your finite life force for table scraps of validation. You wag your tail when the boss gives you a meaningless title instead of a massive raise. You wag your tail when the toxic partner gives you 5 minutes of peace after a week of intense psychological warfare. You wag your tail when your broke friends buy you a beer to thank you for wasting your entire weekend fixing their mistakes. You believe that your unquestioning obedience will eventually be rewarded. You think there is a cosmic ledger in the sky, and one day the universe will look down at how loyal you were, how much abuse you quietly endured, and hand you a crown. Wake up. There is no cosmic ledger. The world is a cold, mathematical chessboard of leverage and power. And in this game, the pieces that never move, the pieces that blindly sacrifice themselves for the king without ever demanding anything in return, are called pawns. And pawns are the very first pieces to be slaughtered. Let us look at how the ruling class, the apex predators of society, view loyalty. Do you think billionaires are loyal to their vendors just for the sake of history? Do you think emperors are loyal to their foot soldiers? Do you think the financial market is loyal to a product just because it has been around for 10 years? Absolutely not. The apex predators view loyalty as a transaction. They understand that loyalty is a currency, and like all currencies, it must be exchanged for equal or greater value in the present moment. The exact second the value drops, the exact second the asset becomes a liability, the loyalty is violently liquidated. The contract is severed. They do not lose sleep over it. They do not feel guilt. They call it optimizing their portfolio. But they do not teach you this. They teach you the morality of the peasant. The peasant is taught to be loyal to the land, loyal to the Lord, loyal to the system. Because a loyal peasant does not start a revolution. A loyal peasant does not ask for a higher percentage of the harvest. A loyal peasant works until his spine breaks and then quietly dies in the dirt, thanking the Lord for the opportunity to serve. You have deeply internalized the morality of the peasant. You feel profound guilt for even thinking about your own self-interest. You feel a burning shame when you consider walking away from a bad deal. That shame is completely artificial. It was installed in your mind by the exact people who benefit from your paralysis. They programmed you to police yourself, so they would never have to pay you what you are actually worth. Let us examine the exact weapon your manipulators use to keep you trapped. Let us talk about the psychological prison of the past. In the ruthless physics of power dynamics, the past does not exist. The past has absolutely zero transactional value. You cannot walk into a bank, look the teller in the eye, and pay your mortgage with the hard work you did 5 years ago. You can only pay with the cash you possess today. But manipulators do not want you looking at today. Because if you look at today, you will see that you are being exploited. You will see that the scale is massively unbalanced. So they force you to look backward. They weaponize your own history against you. Listen for the phrase. It is the most toxic, manipulative phrase in the human language. After all we have been through. When your boss asks you to work the weekend without pay, when the toxic partner demands you forgive their latest betrayal, they will always bring up the past. Remember when I gave you this opportunity when you had nothing? Remember the good times we had? Remember how we started? They are cashing out a receipt from a decade ago to justify robbing you in the present, and you let them. In economics, this is called the sunk cost fallacy. You go to a casino, you put $10,000 on the roulette table, and you lose it all. A rational man walks away, but you are not acting rationally. You are acting out of emotional desperation. You think, I have already lost 10,000. If I walk away now, that loss is permanent and I look like a fool. I have to put in another 5,000 just to try and win it back. You bleed out at the table because you cannot accept the reality of the initial loss. This is exactly how you handle your loyalty. You look at a friendship that has been dead for 5 years. The friend brings absolutely no value, no ambition, and no respect to your life. They drain your energy and constantly pull you back into habits you are desperately trying to outgrow. But you tell yourself, we have been friends for 15 years. I cannot throw away 15 years of history. You are throwing away your present and your future to subsidize a past that is already dead. You are paying a daily tax to a ghost. Having a shared history with someone does not give them a lifetime license to disrespect your boundaries. It does not give them a free pass to drain your resources. Time invested is not a reason to stay. It is simply a measurement of how long you have been asleep at the wheel. Let us look at the corporate manifestation of this trap. Let us look at the most insidious lie ever told in a boardroom. We are a family. When a corporation tells you that you are a family, you must immediately put your hand on your wallet and step back, because they are about to rob you. A family is bound by unconditional love, shared blood, and mutual survival. A corporation is bound by profit margins, shareholder expectations, and legal contracts. By calling the company a family, the executives are attempting to hack your psychology. They are trying to replace a cold financial transaction with a warm emotional obligation. They want the absolute, unquestioning loyalty of a son, but they only want to pay the wages of a replaceable servant. They want you to feel guilty for leaving the office at 5 o'clock. They want you to feel a deep sense of betrayal if you even look at another job offer. They want you to sacrifice your actual family, your wife, your children, your health, for the sake of the corporate family. They demand that you tie your entire identity to their logo. But watch what happens the exact second the quarterly earnings drop. Watch what happens when the market shifts or an AI program can do your job for cheaper. The family will call you into a cold, fluorescent-lit room. They will hand you a cardboard box for your desk. Human resources will disable your key card while you are still sitting in the chair. And they will have you escorted out of the building by a security guard you have known for 10 years. Where is the family then? Where is the loyalty? It vanishes into thin air because it was never real. It was an illusion designed to extract maximum output for minimum compensation. You played by the rules of honor in a game that is governed entirely by mathematics, and you lost. You must stop projecting your own morality onto entities that do not have a soul. A corporation does not have a soul. The free market does not have a soul. And quite frankly, many of the people you call your friends do not possess the moral framework you think they do. When you offer blind, unconditional loyalty to a soulless entity, you are essentially walking into a tiger cage with a stake tied around your neck, hoping the tiger will appreciate your generous spirit and choose not to bite. The tiger does not appreciate your spirit. The tiger appreciates the meat. You must amputate this naive, romanticized view of human relationships and business. You must embrace the cold, terrifying clarity of the sovereign mind. A sovereign does not give his loyalty away for free. He does not offer it as a gift. He does not scatter it on the ground like seeds for birds to eat. He understands that true loyalty is the most expensive, devastatingly powerful asset he possesses. It is a nuclear weapon. And you do not hand the launch codes for a nuclear weapon to a man who just buys you a beer on Friday nights, or a company that pays you just enough to prevent you from starving. You must rip the word loyalty out of the realm of emotion and place it firmly into the realm of strategy. To a sovereign, loyalty is never unconditional. The weak absolutely hate the word conditional. They despise it. They want unconditional loyalty, unconditional love, and unconditional support because they want the benefits of a relationship without ever having to maintain their own value. They want to be lazy, they want to be toxic, and they want you to stay anyway, simply because you promised you would. Unconditional loyalty is for dogs and infants. In the realm of adults, in the arena of power, every single alliance is conditional. It is a contract, and that contract must be renewed every single day based on mutual respect, mutual benefit, and the continuous exchange of value. If a company stops paying you what you are worth, the contract is void. If a partner disrespects your boundaries and breaches your trust, the contract is void. If a friend stops growing and demands that you shrink yourself to make them feel comfortable, the contract is void. Walking away from a broken contract is not betrayal. It is the highest form of self-respect. It is the absolute core of self-preservation. When you leave a toxic environment that you have been loyal to for years, the parasites will scream. They will call you a traitor. They will try to assassinate your character. They will tell everyone how much they did for you in the past and how ungrateful you are in the present. Let them scream. A lion does not turn around when a dog barks. Their anger is not about your lack of honor. Their anger is about their loss of control. They are furious because their favorite battery just unplugged itself, and now they actually have to generate their own power. You must understand the profound difference between an anchor and a chain. Loyalty, when given to another sovereign, when placed in the hands of a high-value ally who respects the contract, is an anchor. When the storms of life hit, when the market crashes and the world goes dark, that mutual loyalty holds your ships together. It keeps you steady. It is a beautiful, unbreakable force multiplier. But blind loyalty to a dying company, a toxic friend, or a manipulative partner? That is not an anchor. That is a heavy iron chain wrapped tightly around your throat, tied directly to a massive boulder that is sinking to the bottom of the ocean. The manipulators will tell you that true honor means holding your breath and sinking with the boulder. They will tell you that letting go makes you a coward. True courage is not drowning in the dark to prove a point to a rock. True courage is reaching down, picking up a heavy axe, and violently severing the chain. Tonight, you must perform a ruthless audit of your kingdom. You must take a cold, calculating look at every single person and entity that currently holds a piece of your loyalty. Look at your employer. Look at your inner circle. Look at your partner. Ask yourself one mechanical question. Are they earning my loyalty today? Not 5 years ago. Not when we were kids. Today. Are they paying the daily rent required to occupy space in your life? Are they bringing peace, power, or profit? If the answer is no, the eviction must be immediate. No long, dramatic explanations, no emotional arguments about the past, no waiting for them to finally understand your perspective. You simply pack your energy, you sever the contract, and you walk out the door. The silence you leave behind is your final answer. When you finally stop giving your loyalty away to parasites, something incredible happens. You reclaim a massive, terrifying amount of energy. The life force you used to spend guarding other people's castles is suddenly yours to weaponize. You stop being the loyal guard dog, and you become the architect of your own empire. You will be called ruthless. You will be called cold. You will be called selfish. Wear those words like a crown. Because in a world of exploited pawns and manipulated dogs, the only man who is truly free is the man who owns himself completely. Stop bleeding for kings who do not know your name. Stop fighting wars for borders you do not own. Take back your sword, cut the chain, and walk into the storm alone if you have to. This is core wisdom. If you are ready to break the loyalty trap and walk the path of the sovereign, subscribe. Leave the herd behind.